everybody was kind of like, what are you doing? You're leaving school? Like, everybody's having that talk. Like, we're all thinking, like, what exam you're going to take and that. And you were kind of to go around all your teachers and get a sign-off, basically say that, look, are you all right for me to leave? Have I done all my classwork? Just seen her coming down and she was like, just you sign there. And this was it. She was like, and I was like, oh no, I wasn't really sure what I'm going. She was like, no, you're going. Like, I was probably quite wild at that time, if I'm honest. You're like, okay, that's all right. If you come in and you prove yourself, you do a year with us. And if you prove yourself, we'll put you to college, you'll do a proper apprenticeship, get your qualification. From my point of view, it's like, you want to be a man, you want to look after your family, you want to make sure you're putting like food on the table as such, and I just felt a bit kind of under-delivered in that. We came back and we realised we didn't have a business that ran without us. We didn't. I was in cuckoo land, to be honest with you. And I was just like, right, we've got 16 men and there's actually no work on Monday. There wasn't any work on Monday. Like, none. I'm honestly a learning machine. Like, I love it. Like, I absolutely love learning. Okay, the time I'll spend at weekends, like, I'll be like listening to podcasts, reading an audio book. Like, that's my hobby. Like, meditation's like a hobby.
Jamie, great to have you on Edinburgh Business Stories. Welcome.
Thanks for having me, guys.
So, it would just be good to hear a little bit about Taylor Roofs. Tell us what it is, what do you do, the team, give us a snapshot.
Where we are now, this is pretty much 11 years in. I began as a sole trader and this is the 11th year of that. About 5-6 years ago, we sort of went to a limited company and kind of levelled up to be what I would say maybe a real business. So where we are now, a couple of £1 million turnover per year last few years, team of 30 plus, going through the journey, systemisation, systems, processes, just kind of finding our way through the journey, becoming just a bigger business year on year, to be honest. Service sort of Edinburgh and all of central Scotland. We're actually based in West Lothian. And yeah, just try to offer a really good service to our customers, try and have a good engaged team, try and build a good culture and just keep going after it. Growth and development of people and just offering good customer care. Like that's sort of it, and that's where we are just now. And then again, probably going through a growth journey now of, I guess every time I would say there's a journey between $500,000 turnover to $1 million, or there's 0 to half, and then there's half to $1 million. Then there's like, we kind of did the jump $1 million to $2 million, which was a bit of a crazy time. And then now again, it looks like we're just going 2 to 3 million. So it's like these, like, I didn't believe that these jumps can really be controlled too much. Like, you can't say, oh, we'll just add $250,000. And I'm using turnover as a metric here because it's easy, but I know everything's not about turnover, but it does give you an indication of the business that you're pulling in and the sales that you're bringing in. So that would probably be where we are now, is we've settled in a couple of years there at kind of doing a couple of million and we're going to the next level. So we're feeling them growth pains. That's where we are.
So you're responsible for putting the roofs over the heads of homeowners in central Scotland and Edinburgh.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how many roofs have you done in your career?
Roofs, it's a hard one to say. I think we probably do on average, it's not all roof replacements that we do, so we probably do on average about 1,000 roofs a year, but it can be repairs and replacement. Yeah. So that number might be up a bit actually now, so it might be more like 1,500 a year. So if you're good at maths, you can maybe tally that back the last 11 years, but it was less in the beginning and then going forward. Yeah. But it is, I think we're probably, in terms of on a weekly basis, we probably do about 30 jobs a week, give or take. And that consists of about 9 or 10 teams sort of out every day out there in the field, as they would say. So the actual, the roofing team.
And this might sound like a stupid question, but do you have a favourite type of roof that you guys like to install?
I would probably say roofing's quite a wide spectrum. So you probably get slating, which is more traditional. Tiling's a bit more modern. You get flat roofing and all various systems. So I would probably say my preference is slating because it's more traditional. So the buildings here in Edinburgh are like, there's more heritage to them. Where we're sort of based in West Lothian is probably more predominantly tiling. But it's all good. To me, it's never been about roofing for me. It's more about the peace of mind that gives the client. So for me, it's more about the service rather than the actual product, if that makes sense. Product's got to be good, and you've got to. It needs to be right, but for us it's probably always been more about the service, like how we turn up branded uniform, branded vans, communication, speaking to the customer, just having these systems and processes that they really go on a journey to get the service that they deserve, really. So it's probably more on that than, but there is parts of me where I'm like, I get quite technical as well, and I'm like, I've not seen that system before, and how does that get put together? And so there's probably no preference, but slate and lead, like you heard, what lead work is? So you've seen some of Alex, we're doing some work with us before, but it's basically like a material that's like a metal, and it gets formed, like you can manoeuvre it, so you can actually boss it, which is like dressing the material to put it round like these curves that you'll maybe get in these roofs in Edinburgh or something. And you can actually cut it and weld it as well. So we've got, my brother's actually been going through a bit of training doing that the last year, and now doing all the welding and stuff. So it's pretty that is quite heritage. It's good to see that stuff, because that's a good job at the end. Do you know what a turret is? So like slating a turret, like that's that's pretty nice, and we've only done probably a few kind of over the years, to be honest. They're few and far between to do, but when one comes up, it's a really good project.
So you've not had the job at Edinburgh Castle then?
No.
I would imagine they've got.
No, yet.
That's coming. All right. Okay.
Geeking out about it. So let's go back to the start. My guess is you started where most people did, in a sole trader role, or an apprenticeship. Talk us through like what that looked like from school.
So left school, I sort of got to fourth year in school. I hadn't really been engaged, if I'm honest. I always sort of knew I was going to be hands-on. I think that's a common theme, even on my own podcast. It's like trades business owners, they always say I wasn't really that academic, so I thought I'd be hands-on, but I did feel that's what it would be. And then it was a really weird time, because at our when we were doing our exams, there was a bit of a mess up in our school. And like some of the teachers came down and was like, by the way, there's a problem with the schedule of the exams, and it's like, you need to kind of choose this one or choose that one. It was a bizarre setup. I didn't care about it, because I wasn't going to pass any of them anyway. but everybody else was going like crazy. Their parents were getting involved, and there was complaints. It was in the papers and that. So I think it was like, I can't even remember what the other subject one was, but there was like RE was there, and I just remember the RE class just being easy. It was a Skive, so I was like, I'll take the RE exam, thinking I'm never going to actually need that. But and then one of the exams I sat was the maths exam, and I thought I'd done really well, but I'd been thrown out the maths class like throughout the class term. So I don't know why they let me sit the exam, but like I never got a result for it. But I thought I'd aced it. Like I was like, that's the best I've ever done at maths. Just like, it just felt great. I was like, that's the only exam that's went well. And I never got a result. And it was because I hadn't done enough of the curriculum, because I'd been kicked out of the class. And it was just, I was actually gutted about that. And that's one of the things in business, maths is really helpful. But what I went on to find is you can learn the gutsy maths that you need, the stuff that you actually, how do you work out the sizes of a roof? Like half of the stuff you got taught in school isn't really like applicable to that, but that was a bit of a disappointment. So maybe going on for that, everybody was kind of like, what are you doing, you're leaving school, like everybody's having that talk, like we're all thinking like what exam you're going to take and that, because this crazy setup was happening. And then people were going about, I was like, I'm not sure, I've not really decided. And you were kind of to go around all your teachers and get a sign off, basically say that, look, are you all right for me to leave? Have I done all my classwork and everything's sorted for my exams and stuff like that? And so everybody's kind of in this kind of place of limbo, like they might stay on. Some of their teachers might be saying, look, I think you should have another year and stuff like that. And then it was actually, I think it was the deputy head at the time, Mrs. Birrell, her name was. Lovely wee lady, but we gave her some grief. Well, I'll say wee, but probably me. But you could just always hear her running about with the wee heels coming running after you, and I just seen her coming down, and she was like, "Just you sign there, just you sign there." And this was it. She was like, and I was like, "Oh no, I wasn't really sure what I'm going." She was like, "No, you're going." Like, and it was honestly, and I was just like, "That'll be me then." And I hadn't had a chat with like my mum or dad or that really about what you're going to do, what's going to happen. There wasn't really any of that. It just wasn't there. I think some people have that, and their mum and dad's got a real idea of what they're going to do, but I didn't have that. I was just a bit wild, to be honest. And it was just like, but my view was going to be, I'll get a trade. And to be honest, my kind of my sort of teenage years and stuff, and even younger than that, like I'd had a bit of a troubled upbringing. It wasn't that bad, but it was a bit troubled, and I used to always think, I just want away for this, and that was my goal of getting the trade. Was somebody told me, if you like, I was like, how can I get away from here? Where would be good to go? And I'm like, Australia, just plucked out the hat, and then somebody told me, if you get a trade, you can go to Australia. I was like, I'll get a trade then. And that was the plan. That's why I was like, I'll get a trade. Or I thought it was. I don't know. It's just sometimes, Alan, you'll know, like sometimes I set these goals and it's like, could you know have just like said you'll go to Blackpool or something? It's like, no, Australia, other side of the world, like totally new, like, you know, and it's just, sometimes I do that, but that makes me move as a person. Yeah. So sometimes I need to set a crazy big idea, like a big goal that's far away. And that gets me moving, and then I go, I might need to bring that in a wee bit. But at least I've started moving, I've taken action towards it, and it's sometimes got to be that big enough to pull me out to it. So that was the idea behind getting the trade.
And then, so you worked presumably as an employee within a business, and then you'll have made a transition at some point from there that sprung you into the start of your business journey. So do you want to talk a bit about that?
So I was always a grafter. Like I had the milk runs, the paper rounds. I used to go and collect litter at Ingliston Market when they used to put the big events on. No, Ingliston Market, like Highland Show and stuff. Yeah. That was good money, by the way. See, like it being like, it was weird. I don't even know if this was legal, if I'm honest, but like I used to go and do the shift. I was like 14, 15 and that, and then the money would get paid into my mum's bank account because I never had a bank account. But it was like litter picking for the weekend, and I can't remember what it was, but I remember going, that is good money. And obviously just because nobody wanted to do it, but there I'm away through doing it. Probably getting somebody in trouble there, either like underage workers. But no, so I did all stuff like that. I always kind of had that work ethic. I knew if you want your own money, you'll need to work quite hard. So that was my kind of, like, I had always kind of done a wee bit of work. Like during school, I used to do the milk run, and because I got really good at it, I got the 2 milk runs. So there used to be 2 rounds that we used to do, and if you did one in the morning, there was like one at like 2-3 a.m, then there was one that followed after that. So I used to just, like, the guy who did the milkman, basically, he was like, he turned the roll into like 1 roll. So like I started getting paid double the money to do the 2 runs, but then that meant I couldn't really make school. So I was actually overworking. Then I was like, because like I wasn't getting back with the milk run at like 6:30. I was like, no way I'm going to school. Like I've just been out for hours. Like, but then he kind of cut it. Like he basically cut the pay in half and was like, no, it's just 1 job now. Whereas I was like, there used to be 2 teams that went out on these milk runs, so like a group of us would do the first one and then a group would do the second, and then I was just kind of doing the 2 of them, and I was like, nah, that's not really fair. So I kind of pulled away from that. But anyway, that's gone back a bit again. Gone into the trade, contacted every company basically in West Lothian at the time to say, you're taking on any apprentices, and 2 people came back to me. One was a bricklaying guy, the other was a roofing company. And the bricklaying guy was like, £250 a week, you'll not get a qualification or that, but you'll be a bricklayer. And the other guy was like, if you come in and you prove yourself, you'll do a year with us, and if you prove yourself, we'll put you to college, you'll do a proper apprenticeship, get your qualification. The money will be like it was £120 a week or something like that. So at that point I had a choice to make. While I kind of go down this route of bricklayer, or while I go down this route of being a roofer with actual qualification. Obviously the Australia thing's still there, and I kind of don't know if I'll afford it if I'm not got the £250 to save up, but I was like, that'll be the like that was my first probably introduction in my life to delayed gratification. So straight away, it's something I've always been pretty good at. I can wait for a result. I can kind of grind through and be quite resilient, and that was the first time it showed up. I went, I'm going to try that, I'm going to prove myself, and I'll wait a year. And then so I did that first year, got on great, really loved it, just being out on site with the guys and just crazy stories and just like a crazy world, to be honest. Just you're out there with like just grown men who are just wild, to be honest, you know. It just was mad, and I just thought, this is brilliant. It's just so much different for school. And then after that year, I went back to college. So like I'd kind of like really started to mature a bit and stuff, and was like out with all these guys and that. And then I went back to college, and I'd seen all the people, like whenever I knew that I'd used to play in like local football teams and all stuff like that. So Edinburgh, Telford College, that's where I went and did my apprenticeship there. You go for like 2 years, and then the further 2 years is a sort of like on-site assessment and catching up with all your stuff, and then you get kind of signed off at the end. So that was a full-time employment, and I loved it. And I always just remember wanting to like prove myself, really just prove myself to my boss. And like he took a chance on me. Like I phoned him the Sunday night, he started me that Monday, and I was there for like 6-7 years or something.
Wow.
Do you know? And it was just like, there's a chance, take it.
Yeah.
And I do that with a lot of our guys. Do you know? I just like a wee guy that used to stay across the road from us, the street that I grew up in, like he's had that same chance. It's just like, can I get a job? Aye, prove you can do it. And absolutely. And to me, I've kept that. So you probably start to see all these wee lessons that you go, that'll maybe work forever now, and that wee thing, that'll maybe work. So so that was the kind of employed journey as such. Really what happened was, so when I was 18, that's when I met Kelly, who's now my wife. I was probably quite wild at that time, if I'm honest. You're like, okay, that's all right. No, I was great. I was quite wild. I'd lost a bit of direction. I think I'd set that big goal of the Australia thing, but then I'd kind of got to like the point of like I was going out at weekends and I was drinking, I was taking drugs, and just kind of gone down a bit of a kind of rocky path. I think fighting a lot and stuff like that as well, and just the problem for me with drinking was that like I used to black out a lot, so I would like wake up in the morning and didn't know what I'd done and stuff like that, and it was quite difficult. My mum, she was actually like she is a recovering alcoholic, but she was an alcoholic till I was 4. She used to always say to me, "You're an alcoholic," and I was like, "No, I only drink like once a week," and she was like, "You're drinking it like way in excess." She said, "If you're blacking out, you can't control that. You're an alcoholic, basically." And I just wasn't willing to listen. I was like, "How do you know?" And do you know? And she was right. And I very rarely drink now, and that's probably because eventually I just kept trying the same thing but not getting that different result, and just went, I'll need to kind of curb it. So, however, the reason I'm telling you that is that I knew I needed something, because I was veering down the wrong path. Like that was probably going to end up and probably like me getting really badly hurt. Well, I did a couple of times, like in bad fights, and ended up getting stabbed and stuff like that. Just like some really crazy stuff, just getting involved in craziness. And but as I was like, so I could see where it was going, and I was like, I don't know if it was like a prayer or something like that, and I was like, I just need something to kind of get me away from this. I didn't really have any kind of role models or figures there to kind of try and you know, point me back in the right direction. And then one night when I was actually being sensible, I hadn't been out drinking or anything like that, my mate had called me, and he was going round to a girl's house who like he kind of fancied at the time or whatever, and he was like, "Oh, you come with me?" And like I hadn't been out that night, and I was like, "Well, I'm in the house, but if you want," and that. And then he was like, "Oh, brilliant," and that. And this was because like she had like a few friends in or whatever. There was a party, so I went, and Kelly was there, and her friend had just came back from Ibiza. So Kelly's there with like the tan and the big smile and everything. And I'm 18 at that point, she's 25, and I was just like, I need that woman, man. Like there was just like an aura about her, and I just was like, if anybody is going to pull me and look after me a bit, it's her. But the problem was she was going through some stuff as well. She just lost her gran, and she was really close to her gran, so it was like she was going through some stuff. So I think we'd got to a level of vibration where I was like burnt out looking for something, and I was just felt a wee bit in the gutter almost, and she was going through a lot as well and had felt like a bit low. And it was like, so we met each other at that vibration, almost like we're done kind of thing. But that kind of gave us a bit of an excitement, and we got on really well. And then I was saying this to her actually last night. I was just like, I knew for that minute, like that was it. So we kind of went on for a few years, and we basically were like, right, well, we'll need to calm down at some point kind of thing, you know. So there was like a wee bit of kind of us still being a bit wild or whatever, but then we calmed down, and that's sort of been a real grounding for me. I think as well, that builds the story around the business, because Kelly had a daughter and son for a previous relationship. So Lauren and Robbie, that's like my stepkids, and they were 5 and 3 at the time. So this wee honeymoon period was kind of going quite well, and then Kelly was I knew she had kids. She had told me like quite early, but I'd never met them or anything like that, and it was never really a thing. It was just like I would see her when the time she maybe didn't have the kids, or you know, things like that. And then she was like, you've both met Kelly, but when she wants to make a decision, like she can make a decision. So me being like kind of knows quick a decision maker, she just kind of went, look, this has gone quite well in that, but if you want this to continue, that's the whole package kind of thing. Yeah. And I was like, so I've stepdad at 18, I was like, let's go for it then. But that was another decision. So when we're looking at these pivotal moments, like, you know, I had to make the one about, will I take the roofing apprenticeship or will I just go be a bricklayer and not have a qualification and things. So again, it was another pivotal moment where I went, I looked like I could see the path, I could see the fork in the road, and I went, you take this path, you take these kids on, and you just man up and just basically just go and have a bit of purpose and look after them. That's going to give you a direction. Or you keep going this way, which is drink and drugs and violence and just different things. And I was like, I need to go this way, and that's what I done. And for that second, I just loved it. Actually, I just thought this is great. And I think my mum, my dad, like my stepdad, like Kelly's mum and dad were like, who's this wee idiot? Because I was just 18. I think I had like the shaved head, always had black eyes and all of that. And like, you know, it was just like, they were probably right at that point to be like, like, who is this guy? And everybody thought I would fail. And that again just gave me motivation to be like, no, I'll prove this. Yeah. And I have, like, I really have, you know, I became a good stepdad, I would say. And obviously we've got our own kids now and stuff like that. But that was a massive turning point, because at that point, like, that's where I had to realise I'm on apprentice wages at that time. Do you know, and it was like for quite a period of time, like Kelly was the kind of main breadwinner. She worked in at the Parliament at the time and had quite a good job, and do you know, I was like on these apprentice wages, and I was like, nah, this, like, I don't know if it's just, this is maybe like I know what it sounds sexist, but like, do you know, from my point of view, it's like, you want to be a man, you want to look after your family, you want to make sure you're putting like food on the table as such, and I just felt a bit kind of under-delivered in that. So I was trying to kind of work weekends and make ends meet, and we were never really getting there. And I just eventually was like working 7 days a week constantly, like all the time, and doing like Chinese deliveries and stuff like that at nights. And you know, it was like every hour that could be worked, I was working, and I was just like, right, there's a limit to like time and money. It's just, I was like, there's no leverage, there's no, like, it's just me, and all this results in is burnout after burnout after burnout. And it's like, and that was just to make ends meet. So I went to my boss at the time, this is probably a bit further on, but became qualified and stuff, and it was a tradesman, and I just said, I need more money, like, I just need more money. And they were kind of like, well, you're on kind of what you should be on. And I was like, I know, but I need more than that. And they were like, well, we could maybe put it up to this, and if you've done this, you could do that. And see, really, like, if you said, look, if you want to just take all the responsibility of this full company and thingy, like, I probably would have tried it. I would have done anything, and I probably would have stayed. And I actually felt like I owed it to that guy. Like, I really wanted to get into that period of time where I would be like making his company money and, you know, really proving myself, because he took the chance on me back all them years ago. But it just wasn't possible. Like, and if they paid me like what I actually probably needed to give that the lifestyle to my family that they deserved, or I felt they deserved, then that would be crazy. It wouldn't make business sense to him to pay me that when I'm like just quite a young tradesman. So I just went, there's only one other, like, I knew if I went to another company I'd only make another few quid, do you know, at most. So I just went, I've got to do this myself. I just need to. Like, it wasn't even debatable. It was like, I need to. I can't just stay like this. Like, we couldn't even go on holiday or anything like that. You know, it was very, like, we were basically just to the penny. It was like, that's it, and sacrifice this so we can do that. And I just didn't want that. So that's where the self-employment came about.
And so you presumably worked your notice, and then you set up on your own. And you talked at the start there about obviously going through various stages as well. So I mean, you went sole trader to limited company. Do you want to just kind of give us an overview of how that?
The different stages. So the initial thing was plucked up the courage to go for this, and I'm like, so this was the end of 2012, and we were just going into 2013. So I was like, January, I think it was like the 7th was the Monday. I was like, January the 7th, 2013. That's when I start, like, sole trader. That'll be me as a company. So I think this was 6 weeks before then. So I've called my boss on the Friday, the guy that gave me the start at the beginning. Didn't see him all that often because he kind of like wasn't really in the day-to-day runnings of the business. But So I phoned him and like really excited, and he didn't really share the enthusiasm, but I'm like, hi mate, like I've got myself like a van and some ladders and tools, and I'm going out on my own and that, and this is brilliant. But because I really enjoyed it here, and like I really wanted to give you like 4 weeks notice up till Christmas, and then we had 2 weeks shutdown over the festive period. So I was like, so that's 6 weeks till like, you can get somebody who'll drive the van and do X, Y and Z. And it was like, all right. And it just wasn't really that excited. And I was like, oh, that's not very good. But obviously it wouldn't be, do you know, it's just like, that wasn't going to be ideal at all. He's probably thinking, this is you just getting to the point now where you can be earning me money and actually like paying him back for all the training he'd put me through and stuff like that. And so he wasn't that excited, and I'd said to him, I was like, I'm going to put my brother through his apprenticeship the same way as I've done and that. And he was like, what will you do when your brother's like at college and that for the 2 weeks at a time and stuff? And I was like, at that moment I started to get realisations of, oh, you didn't realise what your employer's actually going through. Like when they give you an apprenticeship, there's 2 weeks every month for 2 years where like you're just not in the business, you're just away training, and you're maybe getting set up with another team, but then at this point now, like that team's disrupted and this person's away. And I was like, so these things just started flooding in quite quick. But anyway, so I went into work on the Monday, and the contracts manager came up to me, all right kid, that you finished up on Friday? I went, no, 4 weeks on Friday. He went, no, it's Friday. And I went, oh no man. Like that was it. That was it. And because I was a competitor now, and I could have done anything really. To be honest, it was I understood it, but I was like, oh no, because if I go back to then, no bank account, no accountant, business Facebook page was just kicked off like that day, I think, and that was it. Like I'd been doing a couple of homers, so I had a bit of a reputation for that wee guy can come out and fix your roof, and he does a good job, and he's really fair and blah blah blah, and he's good at what he does and things like that. So I had a wee bit of a network built up around the area, but nothing major. But that was it. So I'd had some jobs lined up that I was going to do in the January, so they got pulled forward to like the start of December or the middle of December and stuff, middle of winter, and I'm going, oh no, what have I done? But I just knew it would work, to be honest. I just had to. It was almost, how could it, like, there's no option for it not to work. You need to make it work. You've got the family there. So it's almost like and that probably is a common theme that probably goes through my career. It's like I put these accountability settings around me, so I'm like, I can't not turn up today. Because there's people there relying on me, and I've built this. It's like if we, just that's the way I've kind of done it. So that's what it was there, and so that was a sole trader kind of thing. And I basically took my brother on. He started with me, did his apprenticeship. Took another guy on quite quickly. So I think in that January or February 2013, we were a team of 3 very quickly. One van, 3 years in there, and it basically became. I would go out and try and find jobs, and then we'd like get all the jobs done by Wednesday, and like Thursday, Friday I'd hear them like painting my shed or like cutting my grass, and I'd be like away like trying to price jobs, and it was just really tough. It took a long time, and the thing is I had no momentum, so it was like I had because I started quicker than I anticipated. I was thinking, I'll have 6 weeks to like put all this work into January and February, and it just wasn't there. So it was just really, at that point, you're just taking whatever you can get. And at times we were like going and working for my dad, who had a concrete business. It was like, so like 3 days we were roofers and 2 days we were concrete guys, and I think we used to do removals and that as well at the start. Just like somebody just needing a cupboard moved, and we were like, we can do that. And it's a hard place to be, but you just got to do whatever you've got to do to put food on the table, and that was it. And I had I always started off with if I'm going to take people on and employ them and bring them into this, it's my duty to make sure that they've got work all the time there. It's not like, there's a couple of days, but now I can't give you any work. So I put that on myself. So that's why I had them painting the shed or doing whatever, clean the van out, do whatever needs to be done, so that like, it was just morally right to me that's how it should be.
Jamie, it's interesting, that idea of kind of almost keeping the guys busy and kind of providing for them. And I would say that as we look at your business as well, you've developed a real competence in sales and marketing, so actually getting the business. Even your branded top there just now. So tell us a bit more about how sales and marketing, how you've developed that competence, and what that's done for your business.
Yeah, so it ties in with the theme. What you're going with there is like when I started to vacate the sole trader, sort of trying to lean towards being more of a business. So probably that was 2013. Around 2016, I got this email about joining a business networking group, like a BNI kind of chapter. So I was like, I'll go along and visit that and see what it's all about. And it was actually kind of quite eye-opening. So I went along, turned up with like the scruffy trousers with like the Timberland boots all like burst at the edges and that, and because they were like, oh, there's little trades guys and that comes, and I'm there with like my Taylor Roof's hoodie, like with all the mastic on the arms and all that, and just sat in this business meeting, and there's accountants, there's business coaches, there's joiners and different people, but they're actually dressed quite decent. And I'm just like, oh, this wasn't like a trades party kind of thing, like, all right. Well, I was expecting, like, I just didn't know what to expect, if I'm honest. I went to that, and the thing with that was, like, I was a bit of a sponge. So when people stood up who was like, so a lot of people could go along to that and probably think, right, where am I going to get a roof replacement from? But to me, I just didn't feel like I was there for that. I was like, who am I going to learn off? What am I going to, like, what's the wee golden nugget I could take off of somebody? And there was like a life coach woman there. I can't actually mind her name now. But she said something. She stood up and do you know how you get like a 60-second elevator pitch? Mine was something like, if you want to keep your home waterproof, call Taylor Roofs or something like that. I can't remember what it was, but it was proper cheesy. But everybody had these wee tagline things. And hers was something more around, if you want something you've never had, you've got to do something you've never done. And I was just like, that makes sense. I was like, I've been doing all the same stuff here. Like, I'm just going out, fixing roofs, going to the next one. And, like that kind of resonated a wee bit. And then there was like other people. I met a business coach there. And he was like, you've not got a business. And I was like quite offended, it hits you right in the ego. It's like, I've been going a couple of years, I've got a few guys, a couple of vans, like, you seen my Facebook page and that? I was like, we've got like 13 likes and that. And, I was like, who's this clown? And
it was Alan.
I was Alan.
I'm another clown.
And by the way, this was Alan Smith. Nah, but so he but very, very direct and very to the point, went, you've not got a business, I'll just tell you that right now. And that's what I needed to hear at that point. Because I went, at first it did hurt the ego, and I was like quite angry about it probably inside. What was that doing? I bleeped out, didn't anybody notice that there? So it was, that basically he went, read that book, then just come back to me after you've read it. And I didn't read books, I just hadn't read any at school. I'm not saying no since school because I hadn't read it. I think the only book I'd probably read was like, it was honestly like Andy Gorham, like the Rangers goalie or something like that I just picked up and read one time, do you know what I mean? But what I noticed with reading is, like, see if I read something, like, I just read it for like a multitude of angles. Like, I never read a book with like an intention to go, I need this or that. I'll be really open, and I'll like, whatever lesson kind of shouts at me, like, it just seems to land, and I'm like, brilliant, like, and I can move and take action with it. Never really done much with Andy Gorham's, to be fair, but maybe go off the drink, but but that was the thing. Like, see, sometimes you just need somebody to, like, when I got that book, like, that actually got me into reading, because I was like, I actually enjoyed the process of reading there. It wasn't a school book, it wasn't anything like that, When we went to this meeting, the business coach had said, read the E-Myth. Michael G. Gerber, is it? So he gave, and it was all about systems and processes, and almost like McDonald's sort of how you systemize everything, and everybody should be doing the same thing. And I was like, some of the stuff I was already doing, like, we would all wear the same workwear, the vans would be branded all the kind of same way. Like, there was a bit of that had begun, and so I was like, oh, that resonates. But then it just gave you a lot more kind of tangible, kind of broken down steps, and that probably, again, him saying, you've not got a business, like, you just own a job. And I think that lasts for quite a long time, even when you've got quite a big team. I think that lasts for quite a long time. So basically, we in 2017, I made the step to go for the sole trader to the limited business, and I was going to bring everyone on through the books, basically, and have them as full-time employees. So we did that in 2017. we quite quickly got up to a team of around like 16 roofers. Everything was moving great. I was reading all these books and just like Grant Cardone, 10x rule and all this stuff, and I was just like, I was actually taking it in, and I was again just like, I'm a wee bit of a sponge, like I take it in and it kind of hits. But I think I was quite naive at that point, so I was like, I was growing really fast, and I was like, 10x rule, brilliant. And I was just like, I was reading a book, and then I was on to the next one. I was like, what's the next book? What's the next book? What's the next book? And I was just like reading through these books, and I was just like powerhousing through it, and I was like hiring loads of people and just moving really fast. We moved to a new premises, and just this was all moving really quick. And it was like August. So basically, for that point, we had started that limited company, but at this point I was becoming more probably like a sales guy to a point. I'd went for this roofer who now goes out and sees clients and sells them the job, and then the team delivers it. So that was like probably a period of time where I was like, I can sell, like I'm good at this. I can build good trust with people, and we can get good rapport, and I'm really getting on with these people, and we're getting the job in, and we're doing a really good job at it, and we're getting more feedback and reviews, and we're getting more. And I was like, this is easy. Like, probably I was thinking, this is brilliant. And I was like, I just need to keep doing more of that. And I think it was like the August, we had like $100,000 month or something. And that was our first year, even though it wasn't technically our first ever year, but it was like, that was only, we'd only really incorporated in like, say the March or the April or whatever. And I was like, this is just, like, we're just on fire. So like, I'd been marketing quite good. I'd been hammering Google ads. I was like, this is like, go big or go home kind of idea. I was like, this is amazing. And we basically just had this process where if somebody called in, like I'd go out and visit them within 2 days, quote back within 2 days, and then be getting booked in within like 2 weeks. And it was just like all really kind of process driven. It had to be that. And I would just work 24 hours a day if that's what it took to hit the deadlines or them wee metrics. And it was just like, that was the answer. So thought I was living the dream, if I'm honest. Just thought, this is it. Like, I've got a business that runs without me. At that point, I don't know why I thought that, because I was still the main person in there. Like, I was still having to do all the ops and all that at this point, and like make it like it was. But to me, I was just like, it's a machine that's running. And then we booked to go to Florida, Disneyland. Me, Kelly, and the kids, and that was a dream of mine, because like I had never done that when I was wee, and I was like, this would be amazing to do this. And I was like, I'm doing this already. I was like, this is brilliant. So I went away for about 3 weeks, I think. And the machine stopped for 3 weeks, and we came back and we realised we didn't have a business that ran without us. We didn't. I was in cuckoo land, to be honest with you. And that's where, if anybody watching this, I would say read the books, but just take your time, and there's growth's amazing, but just think of the repercussions of that, and think of how much you're taking on yourself, because it was spiraling out of control, if I'm honest, because I was just moving so fast, and it was so reliant on me just being everywhere at all times, and it was 24/7 working, constant. At this point, Kelly was just holding the house down, looking after the kids, and just doing anything to support me, really, to be able to do that. At that point, Kelly had kind of been in and sort of out of the business a few times, whereas now she's in at director level, and she does a big chunk of the work in the business at director level. But at that time, it was kind of almost, I was 24/7, and she was just just make sure I can go and just deliver on this. And it was just non-stop. So when we came back the holiday, the work was like drying up. We hadn't been looking at the leads as much. It's just, the machine stopped. That's the best way to explain it. So we got to, I can't remember the exact month. I think it was like September. It must have been November. And I'd been coming into the office, and we were talking about it earlier before this, the whiteboards where we've got all the jobs scheduled up. So our office manager at the time, she was like, Jamie, you need to look at that board. Like, you need to get stuff on that board. Like, you've not filled it out. Like, where's the guys going to go and all that? Because I was still doing scheduling, operations manager, sales, market, like everything. I was basically doing everything. I had an office manager and sort of a supervisor kind of helping me, but it was like I was doing the bulk of everything. I think there was times when Kelly would come in and help, but other times that when she was kind of out the business, like when she'd been having kids and just different things like that. So there was times where she was in and out, and sometimes had her own jobs as well. So it wasn't always the kind of two of us as a team in the business. And then so I was like, no, I'll get that. I'm selling. Like, I was like, if I can bring sales in, that's fine. And then I must have just been all over the place. But I came in on I think it was the Friday, and she said again, like, you need to look at this board. And then I looked at the board and I was like, what's happening with that board? There's nothing on it for next week. Because she used to just write up some of the jobs, like half schedule them and be like, you just check that that's the right guys I've put there and that's going to be all right. And came in, was like none of that pre-work done or anything like that. And I was like, where's like all the, and then I went out, we had a tray with like the jobs, like for all the jobs for the guys, which is usually all stacked up and you're like, oh, that's a 2-day job, that's a 5-day job, blah, blah, blah. There wasn't really anything there, like seriously. Mm-hmm. And I was just like, right, we've got 16 men and there's actually no work on Monday. There wasn't any work on Monday, like none. And I was like, oh, that was heartbreaking. Mm. I was like, I honestly, like, I'm feeling it now. I was like, I just felt like dropping to my knees. I think I probably did actually. There was real tears in that and I was like, no. I was like, what's happened? Mm. And I just realised it's only me. I'm just here myself. I'm just doing all of this myself. Mm. And nobody else realises that if that 3-week stop that we had and me just maybe coming off that pace that I'd been going at a wee bit, is just, that's what happens. That is literally what happens when you try and do it all yourself. And I was like, oh no. But I had this belief that I'd started the business way. So when I had been employed, we used to go in on a Friday and a lot of time half of your teammates, your teammates would get paid off. It was just sucking in the roofing industry. It was seasonal, it went up and down. Which no work guys who are away. It was horrible. So I said, if I start in business, I take guys on, I'll always keep them in a job. Yeah. So I had them 16 men, I just went, I'm not getting rid of them. Mm. It was quite naive, if I'm honest. But I just went, that's my values, I'm not getting rid of them. So that weekend, I got good at follow-up calls on sales because there was a lot there, and there wasn't we've got never a job again. It was like somebody's wanting the roof done in 3 weeks time, a month's time, 6 weeks time. So it was like, wasn't it like there was zero work ever? And that taught me another lesson, that see your next again week, that's always your clean slate. Like you could have a terrible week in sales this week, but next week could be your best ever. Yeah. It can happen. Like you're better building it up in multitudes, but you can always go and pull it all back in a week, depending on how far you've went down, to be fair. But so like I was phoning and I was just like I wasn't taking no for an answer. I couldn't. I just couldn't. I was like, you'll need to say aye. And I got this job in. It was quite a big job for 2 men. 16 boys rocks up on the Monday, like, I'll get this started, and do you know the full team. So, and then I was like, no, that's a bit embarrassing. So I was like, right, and I got a few of the teams, and I had them all kind of around Edinburgh and all the different areas, and just was like, you put flyers through there, and you put flyers through there, like grown tradesmen, men out delivering leaflets, do you know? And I was just like, this is insane. That's all and that was where the marketing lessons came from. I was like, oh, this should have been done 3 months ago or 6 months ago. Yes. And see, when you're at your busiest, you should be marketing heavier. Yeah. Like when you're busy, market more. Yeah. Because you do not want to see what it's like when you've not been marketing and it's quiet and you go, oh, let's just turn it. Nah, it doesn't work like that. Do you know how people talk about, oh, we'll turn the ads on? Yeah. Nah, they didn't just come on. Like, you've got to be running with that. Like, you've got to have a bit of momentum behind you there. So that was where I got my lessons in marketing. So at them points I would take them lessons and I would go, maybe going back to that even on that Friday, like I didn't want to go home to my family. I thought I'd destroyed the world. I thought that was the end. I was like, well, I couldn't see any way out of that. Like I was like, this is so stressful. Meanwhile, we had other jobs, it was all finishing up and they all needed signed off operationally and because invoices all sent and all this stuff, and I was just like, I've just let everybody down. I was like, oh no. And but then that probably taught me like to maybe think a wee bit more that like there's always another side of that. It's like and that's where probably one of my kind of main messages would be like, didn't stop, because if I stopped on that Friday, there wouldn't have been any Taylor roofs in the future. That would have just been it. If I allowed myself to stop and get stuck in the mud there and let all them emotions take over me and be like, oh well, I've failed, it's just like, that's just the first mini failure to then learn again. So that's where after that I learnt the lessons. I got a massive job in, like a huge job that just kind of saved us. We lost a bit of money that year, clearly, because we just had guys out kind of keeping them busy and posting flyers and all stuff like that, and for a wee period of time. But then it picked up again, we got moving again. It took us a bit of time to get out of that, but that's where I started to think, right, you can't wait until you've not got work, or and that's where I realised I need people around me here that can constantly be focusing on marketing, focusing on sales, focusing on operations,
Yeah.
and I need to just make sure they know where to be at the right time and train them. And that's probably more of what I'm doing now is like the director level that like it's no my responsibility to send a quote or call somebody or send an invoice or any of these things. It's done by my team, but it's just my job to ensure that they're doing it with the right processes. It's easy enough for them. The customers are happy, and like that's probably, if you don't stop and you keep going, that's the wee bit of reward you might get. That it's just like you didn't need to work 24/7 anymore. It can kind of be done in a 60-hour week. Probably like, you know, it can be done in a 40-hour week, and that's where I try and build the business now, is based on, can my team go in there and in 40 kind of odd hours do that?
Yes.
And that should be the standard we're aiming for. No the one where it's me when I'm 10x, because when you're no 10x anymore, like nobody else can keep that.
Jamie, I can't help but notice that over the course of this conversation, you've kind of used words like, or phrases like delayed gratification, vibration, sponge, lessons learned. And if I put those kind of words against what you said right at the start around being unacademic kind of and wild at school, I can't help but think that you've done more learning since you left school than in it.
Yeah.
Where did all that come from then?
I don't know, like, I'm honestly a learning machine. Like, I love it. Like, I absolutely love learning. And there must have, like, I think back to this, I just think if somebody could have maybe explained to me at school, like, you'll need this to do this. Like, they should teach business in school. I really believe that they should. But, like, it's just somebody putting the right thing in front of you. So, like, when, like, I kind of, this is how I've had to train myself to get better at not just being a sponge to everything. Because like when I was like sort of 16 or something, I watched Scarface with Tony Montana, and I thought that's how I would be successful, like this multi-millionaire like with a drugs empire. And I just thought that's the way that, and it's like logically seemed quite sensible.
Let's not take this conversation any further.
But the area that was in, I was like, no, that's fine. So I think it's about like pivotal moments of some, like, I think you've got to have mentors or a role model. You've got to have somebody that will go, read that, because that's what you need right now. And it's just like, if you can get the right information, then what I've become really good at, or I feel that I'm good at, is if you... So like, I'll like not be afraid to fail. So I'll fail, like what we did with that marketing example, like no work on the Friday, how are we going to come out of this? I'll learn that, I'll take that lesson and I'll go, what did I not know that I now need to know to make sure that never happens again? And then I'll go and find out what it is. And I'm really big on like, I'll not stay stuck for long. See if I'm not getting out of the bit where like I'm like I would call somebody like yourself, do you know, or if I was having an issue with anything, I would just go and call the person who can solve that problem and just see what needs to be done or what I need to learn. And another thing is I don't probably learn everything. I just learn enough to be able to know that what you're telling me isn't nonsense or what you're telling me isn't nonsense. You know, it's like, I know enough, but I'm going to actually build that relationship of trust to be like, nah, I believe you, nah, that's fine. Like, you're telling me that, I believe that, but you've got to have enough of an education, not to just throw all the ingredients in and not actually have a clue on how to bake that cake, if that actually makes sense. So but I think it's just experience, because nobody's going to learn the marketing lesson like actually down on your hands and knees going, there's no jobs on Monday. Like, that's like, you didn't get that like a marketing seminar or a book. Do you know, they didn't tell you that, but that's the real guts of it. That's the, I don't want to go home tonight because Kelly's going to kick me right up the
it's really interesting, like this driven by necessity, because like I'm exhausted. Just here, like the idea of like these necessity things that you've built in, where you're like, I literally don't have a choice. Like, I've built myself into this place where like I have to provide for the family, and some of it's stretching, right? It's like, well, I want us not to just live, I want us to thrive. You know, I want to be able to go on the holidays. But this idea around like putting yourself into such a position where failure is not an option because everything is on the table. Like, how do you go to bed at night and like decompress. You might be decomposing if you don't do it properly. You know, like, what does that look like?
I think it's a good point what you say there, and what I would go back to is like, so my mum's background a bit. My mum, she had like manic depression, and then later that became sort of like a bipolar kind of thing. That was what it was kind of deemed as. So a lot of the times, like when I was at school, like I'd obviously was doing the milk runs and stuff like that, but even at times when I wasn't doing that, like my mum wouldn't get like out of bed like the full day and stuff like that. And like there would be times where I'm like, I didn't feel like going to school today. My mum would be like, oh, you might be having a wee bit of a kind of mental health day. And this has gone back quite far. Like it wasn't as common back then. And I'd be like, oh, I definitely am. But I was just skiving a lot of the time. I was, honestly, but I was like, oh, I think I'm depressed. And you know, it's like, and my mum was like, oh, you will be in that. And then she was like, she just didn't want to get out of her bed at times. And you know, it was like, and then I'd come home from school and she'd laid on the couch all day and things like that. And this was in her lows, by the way. They were a incredible woman, loads of highs and stuff. But the reason I'm telling that bit of the story is that's a learned behaviour. So my default setting is didn't get off the sofa today, didn't get out of bed. And I think every day for me is out my comfort zone. Like, see me just getting out of bed, it's hard. Genuinely it's hard. So I've had to train myself, I've had to build things around me to be like, that'll make me get up. So like, see if I've not got any appointments in my diary for the day, I could stay in bed. Like it might happen. So like that's where I force myself to like have accountability partners. I go to the gym, not all the time. Like I'll have ups and downs with this, but at the moment I'm going in the mornings for 6 a.m. I've got an accountability partner. We're taking part in this challenge that we're doing later in the year. And I've built that into it. I didn't want to let him down. I didn't want to let other people that I've told. That's why you'll see me on LinkedIn always saying, if I'm setting a challenge, it goes on there, because it's like, I'll not let all them people down that's maybe looking at me for a wee bit of inspiration or looking and going, oh, that's quite good. And, you know, you didn't then want to turn around and go, well, I just didn't do it. And, do you know, and whenever I don't do it, I just put my hands up and go, I didn't manage that, but this is what happened. And then there's still hopefully a lesson in that. But in terms of the decompression, like meditation's been a big part of my life. Like massive, to be honest. And when I learnt that, it probably that's helped a lot. Just it gets you out of the day-to-day kind of noise of everything, and it works for me. It gives me a bit of clarity, and then a lot of the time, because it's like that thing, you can't see the wood for the trees sometimes. Like that sort of analogy. That's what it's like when you're in the day-to-day business and everything's gone off. And then you've actually got the problems of like just home life and that as well. Like, oh, this is happening with them at school, this is happening with their job, or blah, blah, blah. And like, there's so much going on. It's like, you can't fix them problems in there. You just can't. Like, you need to find a way to get out of that. And everybody's got something different. And for me, just realising that it shouldn't be, for me, something like alcohol at a weekend to go, that's me decompressing. Like, that was making me worse. So when I realised, like a bulk of the time I'll spend at weekends, like I'll be like listening to podcasts, reading an audio book, like that's my hobby. Like meditation's like a hobby. Like it's not like I better read that. It's like I like to read it. I'd rather do that than go out and drink and stuff. And that's just what's worked for me, and it's probably that's why I think I've been able to kind of go through the levels like fairly fast at times. You know, you're going for like 1 million to 2 million and quite quick, because I'm like I'm super, like no super learning, but do you know, I'm like I'm taking in quite a lot.
You're hungry for it.
Like coming through here, I was listening to a podcast because I'm like, oh, I've got a wee bit of drive to go in, so I'll listen to a podcast.
And out of interest, apart from Edinburgh Business Stories, obviously, what kind of podcast inspire you then?
It's crazy because see, the first ones I started listening to was probably like James English, and it's all like crime stories and stuff, which maybe kind of was probably like aimed more back at like me, that wild spell. So I was like resonating with some of that, and then seeing how some of these guys took it off and then built businesses or done different things, and I was like, that's quite good. And I think that was the first one I kind of seen, and then it would more be like high performance, and like I love the one you guys are doing. I was through the Scottish Business Syndicate. They've got one, and it's real people telling real stories. And I think my own podcast, you know, Taylor Talks Trades, like that's where I seen that gap in the market. It's like it's great maybe listening to like James Clear telling you about Atomic Habits. That's the one I was listening to as I came through, and high performance. But that's not the same as like we Jamie Taylor for down the road telling you like how he's done it, do you know? And I think there's just something about like when you kind of know the people, or they're maybe just in Scotland or in Edinburgh, you can relate to it a bit better.
You've got a real sense of giving back, Jamie, in terms of the things that you do with the business, but just your general attitude. And podcast that's like what you've just described as maybe a good example of that. Actually, how can I kind of get people within the trade to kind of talk about their story? They're very real people, So tell us a bit more about your kind of attitude to community and I guess giving back, maybe.
Yeah, I think the giving back thing, a lot of that, I don't know where a lot of that comes from. I think a lot of it maybe comes from like a bit of me feeling as though I didn't deserve sort of a level of success or no feeling good enough. So then like if I'm going to go and do something and succeed, I want to make sure that people's there with me and they can succeed as well. So it's almost like a quite a collaborative approach. I really don't like competition. If I'm honest, like I didn't really like competing with people. I've tried to, over the years, try and strip my ego back to allow myself to network more, especially people like in my own industry and like other business owners, and really have that collaborative approach. But it's just actually just weaved into the fabric of who I am. It's like right from the beginning when the business was making no money, like we sponsored football teams, we helped out in the local areas. Like I think it was just always going to be a thing. But I do think it could be tied to just almost that fear of maybe a fear of success. I don't know, like a fear of like, I don't know. I guess I just didn't want to stand on the top of that hill alone. I just didn't. I just want people to be there. I want, like, if I'm gonna go and I'm gonna reach the top, I would hope that everybody around me that means something to me can come as well.
What a nice way to say it. Love that.
That's the truth, mate. It's like I think from a real like lack of sort of self-worth, I've built the pillars around me that I'm like, well, I'll do it for others. And I think now I'm maybe going into more of a journey to be like, maybe I need to actually care a wee bit more about myself and look after myself so I can look after the others better. But I think that's where it stems from, whereas I'm like, well, I'll just kind of almost try and, if everybody else is all right, then that gives me something to be all right about. And I don't know if that makes sense, but that's kind of it.
That's nice.
To finish up, we ask all our guests, what is your guiding principle in business? Yeah, you just can't stop. Like we covered it. Like if I stopped on that Friday, or that was one of the stories, there are multiple stories where I could have stopped because it was so hard, so stressful, and the growing pains were severe and whatever they were, and you just couldn't see a way forward. But if I stopped, then that was it. So you can't stop. And I heard this somewhere, but there is a saying that's, you've seen what happens when you give up, because we've all gave up at something at one point. Try and see what happens if you don't give up. And it can be interesting because you go, well, how far could this go if I just never stop? If I never actually give up, do you know? And I think, hopefully that's a fair answer to your question, but it's just like, just don't stop. Like, fail, learn again, pick up the lesson, go and learn the next bit. I think as well, it's normal to have all the answers. Like, it's totally normal to know, like see if you've got your company from 0 all the way up to 1 million, 2 million, 3 million, whatever it might be. Like, you're not meant to know how to run that company at 3 million because you've never done it before. So it's like, be all right with that and be like, right, well, let's lean on the people who's maybe been there. Let's find some mentors. Let's find a coach. Let's find accountability partners. Like, add all the bits in that will make you be able to get there quicker and understand it. But there's no shame. Like, if you start a business, anybody watching this, and might be some of your audience that's thinking they want some inspiration to start a business, then if you're going to start a business, understand that you need to, like, to be good at something, you need to be bad at something first. You need to know how to do it. And we're all going through that. And if you're going to grow and evolve, then like, you can't beat yourself up for not knowing the bit that you just leveled up to become. Like, you know, if you take on that extra 2 members of staff and now you've got a team above 5 and you've never had a team above 5 before, you're not meant to know how to handle that. You just need to find that out.
You said it earlier, didn't you? I can't remember the words exactly that you used, but it's like, what do I not know now that I now need to know?
And so it doesn't happen again.
Yeah.
Like that's the thing. Like, and this is in my business as well. If any, like, I love my team to make mistakes, but hopefully only once or twice. Do you know? It's when we keep repeating them, I'm like, oh, that's getting to the Einstein. Do you know?
Yeah.
Doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. That doesn't work. It's like, can we tweak something there? And that's where probably, and being a business owner and no at director level, like proper director level, like you can have the title but no be there, but like you can't see that. You can't see what that tweak is because you're in it. So when you can look at a helicopter view and go, my team keeps doing that and they keep getting stuck there, and we go back to this, it's like, try that. And then that's what the benefit of probably me and Kelly, certainly over the last kind of couple of years, have got quite good at looking at the business for a higher level and trying to direct it that way and allow the team to make mistakes. And I think they would probably argue the point a lot of the time that like we maybe like just leave them a wee bit and let them make the mistakes, but it's like it's the same as if you're a baby learning to walk. Do you know? It's like you're going to talk, like you need to just let them do it a wee bit, and it's very hard as a business owner because you want to be in there and all over the top of it, but it's never going to be like when we look back at me saying like when I was kind of going for it 10x and it was all me. It's like you can't expect that for anybody else, so you need to see what that business can do and what it would be like if you actually weren't there, so that you can actually go a holiday or something.
When's your next holiday, Jamie?
It is April this year, and that was a new thing.
Nice. Good
So
for you,
when
mate.
we went away to America in 2017, that obviously a wee bit of a fright when I came back, and that was a hard period. Like I never went away again after that until we actually went. So it was my 30th birthday in 2020 during COVID. Kelly had booked me like a surprise week away for me and her to go to Cyprus, but it all got cancelled because of COVID and everything. And then that came up sort of last year, so we went. But it was probably quite rare that we would have done that. But that was the first holiday that we'd been away since 2017. So Kelly was actually, that's where I owe just so much credit to her, because she's like, you stay, you look after the business. I'm not going to stress you with anything else. And she would just go away with the kids and sometimes like her mum and stuff like that. And there's a lot of guilt and stuff, and that's a lot of the sacrifice that now that I'm kind of got the business to another level, although it's still difficult and there's loads of challenges and growth pains, like if I can't go on holiday for a week, what's it offer?
Yeah.
And this is probably a good point to maybe possibly finish on, but I had to ask myself a really good honest question, like who's this all for? Do you know how everybody goes, oh, it's for my wife and my kids? And I believed that. And I know I'd said I'd built them pillars around, but I think really business for me, it probably is about status and about me proving to people that I'm good enough, to myself mainly, because I think I've just had that from childhood all the way through. I've just never felt good enough. So that's why I made the decision, which we spoke about, Alan, for me to go on holiday with my wife and kids, because I said that's for them. But the business has allowed me to do that now. So if I didn't do that, then it's all for nothing. Because I felt like I was telling them a lie, and it is a lie. Oh, I'm busy, I'm 24/7 in the business. Daddy can't go on holiday this year. Do you know? And it's like, so when are you gonna go? Yeah. Like, and Kelly made a great point as well. She said, you do know, like the younger kids, like they didn't know what a business is. They'll just find out in like 10, 15 years when they're maybe old enough to know what a business is, that, oh, that's the thing Dad just gave us up for, kind of thing. Do you know? Wow. Because they're going to look back and be like, what was that business? Yeah. What was that? I'm in the business. Do you know? And so I've had a change of mindset probably, and I'm going to build the business around actually enjoying the time with my family, rather than before that I was always waiting till the end. It was almost like that goal right at the beginning. Once I get to Australia, this will all be all right.
Yeah. Have you ever been to Australia?
No. I've actually the ambition to go, if I'm honest. I think that was. I think I just made that up at the time to just get me out, just to get me moving.
But it got you. Yeah, exactly. That's good.
Yep.
That's great.
Jamie, thank you so much for coming on, sharing some of these stories, and all the luck in the future with Taylor Roofs.
A pleasure. Thanks, guys.
Yeah.